Welcome team. Today's session is very important where we will discuss how to create information security policies in governance, risk and compliance step by step. We will take a scenario based question show that the freshers and the job seekers have a clear visibility that what are the list of controls we have to in your policies. Second thing, to whom you need to connect with contact persons to gather all the informations to develop your policies. We will consolidate all these questions and discuss in this session. This session is very useful especially for interview point of view because interviewer wants to know that at what level of depth you have in terms of policies, what kind of maturity of knowledge you have in terms of policies they would like to know. So let's begin the session. Here the question number one, your project is in implementation phase. At what time you need to create policies, what is the process and what details you would mention while creating the policies and how. So during the implementation phase, it is the exactly right time the auditor, not exactly auditor, the policy owner need to develop the policies in parallel because it's in implementation phase. You need to develop the policies parallelly with your development phase, not after it's complete. Now the question is arising why you start now. So policies guide implementations. It is a well-defined policies, ensure teams align with the security policies, governance and expectations from the start. What steps teams to follow, you need to mention, you need to give a direction to the team. Second reason is avoid rework. Late policy creation may lead to the non-compliance and re-engineering work for you, which increase unnecessarily load over you. Third reason is the readiness of audit. If you start policies initially, then from the audits point of view, like ISO, PCI, SOC 2, very easy to present all the evidences and all. Support risk management. It helps to identify and mitigate risk at the early stage. Now the question is arising what we need to include all the controls of ISO 27001 while creating the policies because it covers all gaps. So I had mentioned few list of controls which is very important policies from the policies development. Number one is information security. See, these all are the controls which have to be mentioned in your policies development phase. Number one is information security policies. So information security policies, rules and responsibilities, policies and review approvals. These should be a part of your policies. Second control is the access control where user access management, how the users are managing any application software, what kind of application you are using. And privileged access management, what layer of access is providing to the users or OEMs or the guest users. Password policy, what kind of policies your organization is following, you need to exactly mention in detail in your access control policies. What kind of authentication, whether it's MFA, SSO, CAPTCHA, what is the depth of authentication you are adhering in your organization needs to mention in your policies document. Remote access control means if any user wants to access remotely or from the work from home, what are the encryptions level, right? What are the layers of security they have to enter in your environment like VPN services and all. Third is the asset management. Asset management is very important where asset inventory, how many servers in a data center, what are the type of services catered by that particular servers. Apart from this, what is the classification of data that is catering, you need to mention. What is acceptable use, what is acceptable use. Example, many organizations are providing laptop, desktops, phones and many other gadgets to their employees for work easiness. So how they should use the assets, these policies should be mentioned in the acceptable usage. Media handling and disposal. Media handling means the external devices or any assets which organization is providing, and the disposal process. If any life, end of life of any assets, what is the process you are adhering to dispose so that the data won't be recovered. Risk management is a very important part. Under this risk management and treatment, what is the process you are following for risk assessment, like for a life cycle of risk, whether you are following or not. Are you maintaining the risk register maintenance or not? What how do you assess the third party risk management? How do you assess the vendors, right? What are the depth and maturity of assessment you are applied on the vendors? So these things you need to mention under the risk management part. Human resources security, background check should be there for every employee's security and awareness trainings, termination and exit processes if any employees have resigned. Next is the crypto and data protection. How your data is protected, you need to mention in your encryption policies, in your master policies. How key management is being used and where it is stored and who is the owner of that key. These are the things we need to mention. Tokenization and data masking. What are the types and classification of crypto you are managing? That should be mentioned under tokenization and data masking parts. Operational security, where you need to mention how the change is managing in your organization, right? What is the process, what is the life cycle you are following? Backup and recovery, how are you managing the production data backup and how you recover if any mishappening happens. Logging and monitoring, every logs you need to cater in our database so that if any incidents happen, you need to capture that particular culprit by setting up the log. And monitoring means the live vigilance over your operational things, especially from the security point of view. Malware protection, any malicious application or software if exists in your organization, and a kind of phishing or vishing attacks may probable in your organization. How are you protecting these things should be under operational securities part. Firewall management, what are the rules, whether it is least privileged or what kind of privileging you are following, you need to mention in the firewall management part. Network segmentations, example DMZ, MZ and all, you need to mention in your network segmentation, because the most critical data should be mentioned in a very secure place, very secure zone. VPN usage, how the VPN is entitled in your organization, right? What is the login traffic? All things you need to mention. Intrusion detection and prevention, you need to have a IPS setup at the perimeter of our organization so that any suspicious thing have a log, and you need to detect and prevent that particular malicious traffic if happens again and again. Physical access controls, it is a data center control where if anybody wants to visit or any VIP wants to visit, what are the physical access, what are the physical controls methodologies you are using. Secure areas, your data center should be at very very secure areas like non-disturbing and all. What are the equipments you are using for protection the data center? Example, under data center, right? uh, what are the clothes engineer is wearing, what kind of shoes they are wearing, right? The protection cap and also all things comes under the equipments part. Apart from this, the firewall, not exactly firewall, that that particular device who mm, kind of prevent from the fire, plus air conditioner and all comes uh, under the environment controls. Incident management part, what is your process to tackle the security incident responses plan? Reporting and escalation processes, if any mishappening done, right? What is the process to raise the security incidents and what is the timeline? Was interested parties informed or not? And post incident review, do we have a RCA or not? We need to mention all these things in the under the incident management part in our master policies document. Business continuity and disaster recovery. Business continuity DR planning is most important, where you need to have active yourself in terms of simulation and disaster recovery failover. Testing and review, as I had explained, the simulations and failover should be tested every at least once in a year. What is RTO and RPO? Recovery time object and recovery point object are the two phases where if any incidents happen in in DR side, right, what is the process to recover that one? What is the downtime? Everything should be mentioned under recover objectives. What is a regulatory compliance? For example, if your organization is following the GDPR, HIPAA, PCI, whatever are the frameworks they are using. So you need to mention in your policies that exactly which kind of frameworks your organization is adhering to. Intellectual property and a protection and logging for legal requirements and data retentions policies for legal use. Vendor and third parties management, where third party agreements, where the non-disclosure agreements and all. Vendor risk assessment, it is comes under the third parties risk management, TPRM, where what is the process you are assessing our vendors because you are sharing the data against the service. What is a service level agreement you applied on the vendors? What is the penalties? What is the timeline to provide the services? Access control for vendors. What is the level and the depth of the uh, access applicable for vendors? Secure development practices, SDLC. During development of an applications, what is the life cycle you are adhering? What is the code review and testing? Vulnerabilities management, which application you are using, which software you are adhering to identify the vulnerabilities. Patch management, Microsoft or multiple OEMs release the patch every Tuesday of every week. So what is the status of patch management and how much servers you deployed by patch, and all these things should be mentioned under patch management in master document. Now the question is arising, okay, okay, these are the list of the particular controls, but the question is that what questions we need to ask with teams to create the policies for access control. To create an effective access control policies, you need to engage with the server team, active directory team or security team to ask targeted questions to define how access is granted, how access are managed, monitored and revoked. So I had mentioned few questions for your easiness so that you can have a clear visibility that okay, these are the questions we need to discuss with the teams to develop the policies. Where first part is the access requirements. What application systems and data does your team needs access to? What kind of what is the depth of access your teams require? What type of access is required, like read, write or administrator access, etc. Who need privileged access and why? Are their roles defined and specific access levels of user under user access management? How are new users granted access to systems? What is the process for requesting access, right? Who approves the access request? How is the user identity verifying before granting access? Very important, these information you need to gather from the teams while you are creating a policies or developing the policy, because this question and answer should be in your list so that you can develop the policies. Third thing is the RBAC, role-based access. Are roles and responsibility clearly defined while giving the access? It shouldn't be there that okay, some employees have the different capabilities and you are providing the different access to a separate application. It won't be happen. What permissions are tied to each role? Yes, as I said, the relevant access should be given to that particular application where the past experience of the employee have. Are any roles over privileged? Okay, what are the types of roles you have assigned under RBAC? What authentication methods are used? Example, password, MFA, and SSO. Is access controlled based on user identity or attributes? As you know, access is given by two ways. Number one is on the basis of RBAC and second is attribute based. So which kind of access you are following? Are there time based or location based access restrictions or not? So these are the certain questions you need to mention. Access review and monitoring. How often do you review user access? Who is responsible for periodic access reviews? How do you track the log access to systems, sensitive systems? Are there alerts for unauthorized access attempts? So how are you accessing the review? Okay, how are you monitoring the review? Are you have a do you have a proper vigilance applications to monitor? For example, if any user is absent from last 1 month, 2 months, right? What is the process to tackle such kind of situations? If any employees is terminated or access has been revoked, what is the process? How is access removed when someone leaves the organization or change role? Is there a checklist for revoking access upon a termination? For third party access, does third parties vendor have access to your machines or not? How is their access managed and monitored? Are third parties accounts reviewed regularly? And about the change management, how is access updated when a user roles or responsibility changes? Is there a documentation or a tool used to manage access requests and changes? What is the process if any users have changed the access? What is the path you are following? So these are the certain questions you need to follow. Similarly, you can ask appropriate questions from teams for rest of the controls. Example, crypto, for BCP, for SIM, for network controls and all. The access control, since this is very critical for every organization, that's why I had covered this access control questionnaires for your easiness. Do you still require all questions for each controls? Let me know in comments. I hope guys this video helping you. Thank you so much.